Infernals is here, with new volcanic planets, Thermophile Mechanics, 2 new origins, 4 new species traits, 4 new civics, an entire crisis path, and a whole bunch more. This could be one of the greatest species packs they've ever made, and in this video I will be providing you with a complete overview of all the features from the DLC, so you know exactly what's included, as well as my opinions on them, and some tips and tricks. This is all because I've already played through each origin and crisis path, used all the traits and civics in videos coming this week. So make sure to subscribe. If you are thinking about getting Infernals or Season 9, make sure to use mine or another creator's code, or link. Mine's in the description and pinned comment, and it gives us creators a kickback at no extra expense to you. My code is EP3Stellaris, case sensitive, where you'll get a Steam code from the Paradox store themselves. Now, let's break down the DLC. Let's first talk about the Volcanic Worlds, and they're not here. To actually get access to the Volcanic Worlds, you need to go to Species and Portraits, the Infernal tab, and then select one of the Infernal portraits. Do note there's 2 portraits that already exist in the game. For example, this is the Lithoid Humanoid, but if you select it as an Infernal, it will become Infernal. If you select it as a Lithoid, it will then be Lithoid. Once you select an Infernal portrait, we can come back to name and class under Homeworld, and now we have Volcanic. These have replaced the Cold Worlds. The Volcanic preference for your species has 60% to Volcanic Worlds, Desert Worlds, Arid Worlds, and Savanna Worlds, with only 20% to the wet types. Do note that if you do go dry, you don't get any volcanic world habitability, so you may as well take this. And these volcanic worlds are not just cosmetic, they have real mechanical implications. First off, I mean, they look sick. That's the cosmetic thing. If we come over into the planet, we still have our city districts with the 2 zones, and we have a nice little geothermal power plant, which is still giving us technician jobs every time you build it, 200 technician jobs. The only difference here is that the districts for geothermal and the magma conduits, which are different, which we'll get into in a minute, the districts are uncapped. So essentially, you could make any volcanic world your energy or minerals or city district. Gives you a lot of freedom to choose and not be at the mercy at the RNG of the management, which usually gives max districts. You still have those features, but they don't actually do anything because they're both uncapped, which I find pretty nice and unique for them. On top of that, we have the magma conduits. This will be built and give you 200 housing and 200 thermoforger jobs, similar to the mining district. However, thermoforgers turn energy credits into minerals and alloys. So the base production of just 200 of them would be 10 minerals and 1 alloy. However, bonuses do apply to this. If the bonus though is buffing just mineral output, it only buffs the minerals. So as you can see with Mining Rush, this is from our councillor position here, which is giving 2.5% minerals for jobs. It's not applying to the alloy income. This extra alloys is going to be useful, as you might have spotted an upkeep of alloys on these pops. We will get into that. Again, this is uncapped like we mentioned before, and once you get the mining tech, you can build mining extraction on here, which per district gives you extra jobs, which is pretty standard. But then of course you can build the mineral purification job, which gives 20% to the thermoforgers, so they will give you 20% more alloys too. So this is pretty good building to build and aim for. You can now see from buildings plus 20%. This upgrade only gives plus 2 minerals for thermoforgers, so won't give you any extra alloys, which is a bit sad. So overall, the actual alloy production you get from this isn't amazing. You're still going to need forge worlds if you want to build a massive fleet, but it will cure the upkeep cost of your pops ever so slightly, which we will get into. The next key difference is the Thermotechnic Forum. This costs more minerals than normal basic districts and will give you 200 Thermotechnic mentor jobs. These jobs augment the other jobs, another unique mechanic just on the Volcanic Worlds. This species pack is quite insane. These mentors give mining jobs Unity, technicians, physics research, meticulous engineering research, and artisans society research. For each 200 jobs, which is one of those districts, you get 0.6 of those resources per 100 of those workers. I got slightly more because I'm getting bonuses due to attack, but yes, bonuses do apply to that job. Now, this is a specialist job that has quite a hefty consumer good upkeep. You see, just 200 of them have a 7 consumer upkeep, and I believe that is being reduced by some tax, which is quite hefty. However, you can see when we work these jobs, we're actually getting some Unity going, and some physics, as well as engineering on our Meteorgulus. These jobs are okay. 16 Unity for 12,000 minerals is purely an addition. It's not really something you can fully build your build around, but honestly, the Unity is probably the most helpful. The tech is quite low. You're not going to really get too much out of it. If we work them all, you can see this bonus will go up. So we're up to 31 with just 2 being worked. That's for 14 consumer goods. But like I was saying, the Unity increase for the mineral workers is definitely the best one to aim for. So on any mineral planets you have, I would aim for this. The others, the jury's out. Now you can spam them. Unfortunately, these are RNG with different planetary features. So we actually have 6 on this planet, which is quite a lot. I've seen planets with usually 2 or 4. But once you build them, they work those jobs. They don't give any output by themselves. They purely rely on other things. So this would be the last thing you should probably build on your mineral world. This is kind of more of a later game thing, which again makes this Unity income a little bit worse. 76 is not great. The key thing with it though is for your science world, because the specialization for this district can be another research enclave. It can even be Unity, so it's good on your Unity planets. This means once you specialize, you unlock more building slots, which means you can put more research buffing things, or just more labs. On some tech worlds, I like to just build one of them so I can get the building slots. But again, this isn't really something you can massively build around, unless you're going for like a hyper-specific build, maybe tank-bound with this so that your automated jobs get the Unity. Because of course, we do have a tank-bound portrait. So having our tank-bound pops working the thermotechnic mentors then gives us Unity from the automation, and even tech. Quite niche, interesting to mix up the planet. Volcanic Worlds also give 5% resources to alloys, which is pretty nice. Let's move on to the Thermophile Mechanics. As we've alluded to, they eat alloys and not food. Per 100 pops, they consume 0.25 alloys. They also get a bonus habitability to Volcanic Worlds, and they get a minimum habitability of at least 50% on Volcanic Worlds. However, they suck for cold worlds with minus 30%. This does mean, the eager-eyed of you, the volcanic preference for desert, arid, and savanna means they can actually comfortably live on those dry worlds as well as volcanic. They also get leader lifespan plus 10 years, which is quite an interesting thing just to throw in there. A little bit helpful if you're going for leader builds, but not that impactful. They also have access to the Infernal species traits, which we will get onto. A key tip with the Infernals is just watch your alloys. I know we do get them from our minerals, but we're only getting 6, which only can upkeep 2,400 pops, and you obviously start with more of those, and we're tank bound. So you definitely do want alloy worlds, unless you want to run negatives. Alloy production early game, if you don't build alloys, it gets extremely ropey. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure to subscribe. I am getting so close to 100k subscribers, and selfishly I really want that plaque. Thank you so much. Now let's get on with the video. Let's get into the origins. The first one being Cosmic Dawn. There's not too much information off the bat. We start with our homeworld being size 14, which sounds really bad, but it will get better, don't worry. We also get 5 ancient stasis pods, which when we clear them, they'll give 100 pops and 1 max district, and we start with the situation Deep Excavation. However, we start with 600 less pops, which sounds awful because we only get 5 features, but trust me, this origin's actually surprisingly good. You will start with a situation where you need a construction ship over your capital. I would highly recommend getting this going right at the start of the game. It's going to take you a fair few years, but once you finish that situation with your construction ship, you'll get an event where Mulkin has awakened with nobody knowing what's going on, as this origin is all about discovering your past, as you have evidence you were from the creation of the universe. You have 2 options: authorize a full-scale excavation or remove only what is necessary. These will affect the ticking situation, but you can change it afterwards. You also create 100 Delver pops, which is that 100 extra that you were missing out from the penalties. The ancient stasis pods also do provide you some society research, which early game is quite nice. You're actually producing 15 society here, which is almost double of what we're producing physics. But clearing them for the extra pops will be useful, as well as getting the max districts up, because currently you only have 4 slots. In the Deep Excavation ticking situation that you just unlocked, if you strip mine, you'll get extra progress, 1.5, and you'll gain 4 minerals, but have an upkeep of 37. If you did targeting drilling, you'd only progress 0.5, but you'd have a 2 energy upkeep and a 2 minerals. I would suggest going for strip mining and just building your economy to support it, as you do want to get through this situation as quickly as possible, as the bonuses from them are really good. I won't spoil the story, but some of the bonuses are just getting some flat engineering and max districts. This digging is all about increasing the size of your planet, and you can later on customize bonuses. But now you have to get ancient tunnels, so you can go for the engineering or Unity. I'd probably go for the Unity. Ancient tunnels is the thing giving you the +1 here, but that raises your maximum to 5 before you even clear all of these. To avoid massive spoilers on the story, I'll show you my end capital we managed to make. Yes, it's producing a lot of technology. We essentially eventually got underground architecture, which is giving us +5 max districts, 20% housing and 10% amenities. We have an avian reserve giving us 4 unity, with ancient tunnels giving us insane 11% efficiency to all tech jobs, as well as +11 max districts. We also have isolated tunnels giving max thermotechnic forums 2 and habitability 15%. This took this size 14 world up to a possible 35 maximum districts on top of the mastery of nature that I did. This let me produce a little bit of technology, just a little bit, and then we used the thermotechnic forum to get even more research labs like we were talking about before. I believe there are other routes, but this is just an example for this origin. The second origin, Red Giant, is all about your star that is expanding. You start on a volcanic world of size 20, and you get 20% habitability to Volcanic Worlds. Not much there, because it's all to do with the story in the event. They went kind of ham with the stories in these new origins. Here is the star that's growing, and eventually you'll get a ticking event to do with it. At the start, you need to select your approach to how to deal with this red giant. This will set your situation to reassure the public, which grows the red giant by 7, but you gain 10 unity, or you can find the cause, which also grows by 7, and you lose physics research. When you select these options, you also get Unity or Tech. What I love is as it grows, the star actually grows too. You can see it growing every now and then. You also get a modifier on your planet, Red Star. Now this is going to change a bunch, but initially it's going to lower your habitability by 10%, but give you more physics research and more energy research. The only difference I can really find between the two different approaches at the start of the game is the fact that you'll get this next event quicker, which is investigating the stellar tunneling and what the heck's going on. This will allow you to select an approach to either suppress unrest or disrupt the subspace tunnels. So if you want to go quick through this origin, investigate it. Once you get the stellar tunneling event, you also get subspace triangulation, which if you research 3 of these, you'll find more about the origin of your star. There are many options and differences with this origin and what you choose. All kind of lead to the same outcome, but with slightly different modifiers. As you progress through this origin, your star will get less and less habitability and will start giving you upkeep to your jobs, but giving more to physics and energy. Now I do have a video coming where we explore all of them within a gameplay setting, but essentially if you choose a specific path, you will spark the crisis, allowing you to go galactic hyperthermia very early into the game at year 15. It's going to involve you finding a black hole, exploring a mystery of ships, and taking them down. This is heavily story based, so I would just go check it out for yourself and mess around with it, or watch the video coming soon on it. Next up are the 4 new civics. First up, Galvanic Synthesis. This has a hive and machine alternative to that give you the same buffs, just different council position because they don't have council positions. This one's really interesting and plays a lot around living metals. You'll start with a living metal tech already researched, and your homeworld will have a living metal sediment. This is going to give you 1 living metal. You also gain access to the special edicts centrifugal siphoning, which lowers the amount of alloys you get from a Terglis, but gives you living metals. This will cost you Unity to activate as well. You also get modular growth compounds, giving you 10% pop growth or assembly, which is pretty nice. That'll cost you some living metals to activate though. You also get access to living metal components, regenerative armor. This is quite insane. You get bonuses per armor component, remember, 2% energy weapon fire rate, daily hull regen, and daily armor regen. So if you have a lot of energy weapons on your ship, you can get a lot of energy weapon fire rate. This also adds regenerative versions of common armor components for ships, and their alloy cost is replaced with living metals. What does this mean? Well, for every stage of armor you get, you'll unlock a version identical to this. For example, we have tier 5 armor, we get tier 5 regenerative armor. Now for some reason in the tooltip it doesn't say it has armor hit points. It does. Tier 1 armor has 100 armor hit points. Tier 1 regenerative also has 100 armor, but it just gives you the bonuses. So in crisis ships, they're very good because you don't pay the living metal cost. We'll get onto this whole crisis ship soon. They do cost a lot of living metals, but if you can afford it and shift your production into it, I'd highly recommend running an energy type weapon. I think the plasma cannons might be the best because they have the highest cooldown, so the percentages, which is 16% fire rate bonus because we have 8 of them, apply more to a bigger number, if that makes sense. So we can really get a lot of damage output. Let's just hope they don't have many shields. We do also get reshaping projectile accelerator, which is a stronger version of kinetic artillery with ally costs replaced by living metals. You unlock this once you get kinetic artillery. And here it is, the reshaping projectile accelerator. It actually does less damage than the normal tier 2 kinetic artillery. It has the same cooldown, slightly more accuracy. However, the key thing is that it does 150% shield damage and does 50% armor penetration. The normal kinetic artillery does 100% shield damage, less damage to armor. So this really makes it a lot better since you can rip through the shields and then you can just penetrate through the armor to kill the hull. And the only thing that needs to die on a ship for it to die is the hull. You can have excess armor if you really want, but you're still going to die with no hull. Probably the best to run on a artillery first strike battleship like so, and just beam them down. You also have access to the planetary decision distribute living metal, which by paying 500 living metal will increase your infrastructure build speed by 10% and reduce upkeep by 20%. If you got the living metals for it, that is very strong, especially on built up tech worlds that has 561 consumer good upkeep. The Civic is not done yet. You can also build an off-world exhibition hub in systems with a molten world for off-world prospect jobs, which turn energy credits into living metal motes. We for sure were building those because living metals can be really strong. You can see we're getting 200 of these workers. They're producing us a nice bit of living metals in exchange for energy. You can also recruit the Mimetic Strike Force Army, which also takes living metals, and they have decent stats. They're better than Gene Warriors and even Psionic armies. They're just quite expensive, 150 living metals. At 100%, try and prioritize the pop growth as soon as you can. It does scale on empire size, and the weapons and stuff, if you can afford it, are quite good. However, they don't scale with each other because obviously these are kinetic, not energy, so you may as well not use that armor. The daily hull and armor could be helpful. We're not done there though. We get 100% planetary infrastructure refund, so if I just came into my industry world here and downgraded, you can see our minerals go back up because we're getting refunded of what the districts are. This also applies to buildings and such. So if you invade people, you can just destroy their worlds to get minerals and then rebuild it how you want. And finally, the council position per skill level gives 1% to physics and engineering jobs. Very solid. Whack it on, get a bit more tech output. Next up, we have Scorched World Heralds, which is your Total War Civic, also available to hives. You can't engage in diplomacy, can't access the Galactic market, and you get a Casus Belli Cleansing Blaze, which is basically just a total war goal, from what I could tell. Basically, you don't need to make claims, you just get all their stuff. And yes, other empires will get end threat on you, so they don't need to make claims on you. You don't get away with that. You'll get unity when bombarding with the Firestorm bombardment stance, and you can create special blockers with the Seismic Carpet bombardment stance on the planet below. These blockers reduce defensive army morale, damage, and army health, and they can stack. They also cost a lot to remove, so they're pretty good for weakening planets up to then murder them. You also get more ship weapon range, which is huge. This is one of the only civics that do that, meaning artillery weapons, which are quite better, are much better. Armor hit points, build your ships with armor. More ship build speed, 50% naval capacity, more army health, and research speed to materials 50%. Quite an interesting mix of buffs. They're quite good. You also get the council position Prime Scorcher, which lowers war exhaustion gain by 2%. You'll get this instead of the diplomat council position, so you'll start with them, and therefore 2 military leaders, so you can get more military buffs if you want. Next up is the Fire Cult, which is a unity producing civic. First up, unity jobs output increases proportionally with lower habitability, up to 500%, meaning on low worlds, you can produce quite a bit of unity here. I don't exactly know the scale, but you can see we're producing 611% there. What? It appears I broke the game because it should be less than that because the max is 500, but I do have 0% habitability, so I don't know what's going on there. You also get the Scourge of the Volcano faction that forms shortly after the game. You can get other factions, but they'll spawn later on at normal time. But this faction will have quests related to the Civic. So having low habitability, having fire dancers, having all that stuff, meaning you can get a bit of unity going from them quickly into the game. It's basic parliamentary systems, let's go. It will replace priests with fire dancers, which will consume consumer goods to give you unity, amenities, and stability, which is quite nice because you're going to have low habitability on planets. This will give you some stability. How much? Well, 200 is giving 0.63, but that's weird because we have lower job efficiency because of the planet habitability, but hey, it helps. Also, the amenities do help a lot. That's not all though. Politicians will be replaced with fire oracles on planets with habitability lower than 40%. Fire oracles are pretty insane. They give you a lot of unity and some amenities compared to normal admin people. There's 200, which is really 120 because we're lowered by 70%. It's giving 78 unity. And on this world, we have 400 of them giving 66. It's actually 560. Pretty nice. It'll also allow the recruitment of Ember Legion armies on planets with habitability lower than 20%. These Ember Legions cost 250 minerals and are really strong. Could be worth having one planet at least just to start building a bunch of those. They also do take a while to build, double that of an assault army. You also get access to the Blazing Scourge planetary decision, which creates Blazing Scourge blockers. You can add up to 5 of these. Each will gradually decrease the planet habitability by 20% and will grant you unity and amenities. Some will grant volatile motes and exotic gases if the tech is researched. I believe this is these random weird ones that are lowering the habitability by 20%. And they're also giving different things like amenities, unity, energy. This also synergizes with a bunch of civics, giving you potentially even more unity, etc. The synergizing basically means you'll get the buffs from both this civic and that one. Council positions are really nice, lowering job consumer goods upkeep by 3% per level. It's insane actually for scientists. Now this civic is a bit weird because you don't want low habitability because the negatives from low habitability is insane. We're at 0% here and we're getting 100% upkeep, usage, and 50% less efficiency and pop growth. What I would do is not do what I did here and inhabit cold worlds to get this, because the pop growth on these planets was atrociously bad, so we never got the admins anyway, because you need to upgrade your planetary capital, which requires 1,000 pops, so I had to move pops elsewhere to do it. What I would do is settle on dry worlds, build them up to at least get the capital, then run the decision to lower the habitability, probably to 49 to 40%, and not go all the way down to 0, so that you still keep some production, some pop growth. But the unity output you can get from this is pretty insane, with 2k here at year 52, and we have 5k tech too, so we're doing quite well. The fourth and final civic can be used by anyone. The previous one was only Infernals. This one unlocks starting planets as a volcanic world. So as a non-infernal, you can use a volcanic world. This will give you the guaranteed research option of the Volcanic Forge. This is a tech that allows you to terraform planets into volcanic worlds. This building gives thermotechnic mentors as well, which is really interesting. You can have that stack with the district, and the planets with a volcanic forge will gradually turn into a volcanic world. However, your guaranteed habitable worlds will be dry. So my Oil Prime and Kota Prime were at one point dry worlds that we then turned into volcanic worlds with the Volcanic Forge, which also does have an upgrade, giving you more mentor jobs. The progress of the volcanic world changes depending on how many mining jobs and materials jobs you have, but it does have a flat 0.2. Pretty unique civic. It allows you to actually create volcanic worlds as there are not many on the map. If we do have a look at our expansion planet after serving the entire galaxy, there's actually only one volcanic world, and I doubt the AI's actually settled them. Maybe they have though, but there's not many volcanic worlds out there. Let's check on an empty galaxy, shall we? Expansion planner, 100%. There's actually quite a few out there. To be fair, if we go to 0%, you can see in relation to the other planets, there's far more of those than a volcanic. So turning dry worlds, cold worlds, wet worlds into volcanic worlds is very strong with that civic. You will eventually get that tech, but it could take you a bit. Moving on to the 4 new traits. We have a must pick in pyroclastic channeling. This just gives 10% pop growth speed, which is not different to rapid breeders. However, it's only 10% on volcanic worlds and costs 1. So if you're going just for volcanic worlds, this is really good because you can pick other stuff. Then they have Crucible community. Remember, these are all locked to Infernal species. For every 100 pops, this gives 0.25 Edict Fund. It's okay. I don't really have a struggle with Edict Fund. If you really like your edicts, this is for you. Probably better to add on later in the game when you have many pops and need more edicts, but you can start with it. And then have Shell Slag, a 2 cost that for every 100 pops with this trait, working as a slave or bear produces 0.005 living metals per month. This is quite a low amount. I did try it out with obviously Galactic Synthesis, where we're going for living metals, and the production of them wasn't that great. It barely let us keep the edict on for pop growth. We needed those buildings. I'd like to see this buffed a little bit because it's really nothing, and it's half of what Scintillating Skin gives you and those traits. I know it's a better rare resource, but it still feels quite weak, but it's a good combination with that Civic. Finally, we have Unbreakable Resolve. For every 100 pops on this planet with this trait, add 0.2 stability with a max of 15. This can be used for any species, so if you're not doing Infernals, you could still run this. I think this one's actually not too bad. Stability is actually not that bad, giving you a very nice amount of resources from jobs, a max of 30% at 100 stability. Now the max is 15, meaning that you need 7,500 pops on the planet to get that plus 15, which on your capital is going to happen. We're already doubling that here, getting that plus 15, which brings us to 100%. We don't actually have the max here and we're still 100%. You could argue that the trait might be a bit wasted if you're over 100%, but it helps, especially on planets where we have 0% habitability. We can still get that up a bit with the trait. It's not bad. However, costing 2 is quite hefty. Now onto the big one, Galactic Hyperthermia. If you don't go it through the origin like we did earlier, you're going to need 3 other Ascension perks, and you cannot be Xenophile, Fanatic Xenophile, Pacifist, Fanatic Pacifist, or have Familiar Face. Funnily enough, you don't actually have to be Infernal, as I've just selected a random portrait, or actually psionics, and a hive, and we can still go Galactic Hyperthermia. Once you select the crisis, you get a situation, and that's to find a new power source. This will unlock the new resource Crystallized Entropy, allowing you to actually get started on your crisis path. Once you finish it, you get a specimen, which will give you the Crystallized Entropy and rare crystals, and allow you to now build the Galactic Crucible frame around a star. And it will give you access to the level 1 tier, which allows the accumulation of the resource, the Edict Entropy Harnessing, and the Mega Structure. The Edict Entropy Harnessing will lower production of your technicians by 1, but give 0.5 crystallized entropy, which is quite nice to get the production flowing. Which is great because you're going to need that resource for the Galactic Crucible frame, which is going to cost you 2,500 alloys and 500 crystallized entropy and take 720 days. Once the frame's built, you need to upgrade it, costing 5,000 entropy and 10 years. Once it's built, it's now producing you 100 naval capacity, 5 entropy, and 10 alloys, as well as conduits. Conduits are the new automated ships that go out and try to create red giants. Colonies within a targeted system will also receive bonuses. As you can see, we're getting stellar supervision, 5% resource from jobs, and 5% amenities. They also are equipped with the X-Slot Lens Paralyzer weapon, which disables enemies on impact for several days and does some damage. You also get an extra mega structure build capacity, and you can overclock the Galactic Crucible chassis, which is pretty sick. If we come over to overclocking, we can remain on default mode, giving us that entropy for an upkeep of alloys, or we can go into overcharge, lowering the conduit construction time by 20 days and giving a 50 crystallized entropy upkeep. If we go into production though, we're trading alloys for crystallized entropy. If we go into the coordination center, we give home territory fire rate 20%, but it disables conduit construction and has a 35% energy upkeep. This is great if you're trying to defend yourself, which you might be. To move on, there's no special project. You just need to upgrade the Crucible chassis again. It's going to cost you 7,500 entropy and will take 10 years. Remember, any mega structure build speed increasing will apply to this, so you can lower that to build it quicker. Once you reach the 3rd stage, you have a choice. You can fan the flames of war, which allows you to progress down the crisis and gives you a special project, or you can turn peaceful, which will turn a Galactic Crucible core into a Galactic Crucible institution. So if we quickly do that, we now get the mega structure upgrade available. The institute, we upgrade that for 15,000 entropy. It's now producing us 350 alloys. And guess what? We can still overclock it, giving us more conduits, entropy, home fire rate, or just on the basic mode. Once you've gone down this path, however, you can't progress anymore. You're stuck with the previous buffs and tiers, and that is the end of your journey with Galactic Hyperthermia. However, we didn't read the tier 3 buffs, where you actually get the Ember Cruiser, which is a ship that is identical to a cruiser. However, it will cost you the entropy to build and upkeep, as well as a bit of energy. This is great because, like I was alluding to earlier, we put the living metal armor on or minor artifact parts, the cost does not increase, so it's always that flat amount. Conduits also deal passive damage to hostile ships and stations, allowing you for a little bit of damage if you're at war, and it will lower the conduit construction time by 10. You also unlock the Volcanic World terraforming and the Firestorm bombardment stunts, which we've covered before. You also get 30% bombardment damage, so you're peaceful, but people don't want to mess with you. If we carry on going down the Crisis path, we'll get the Crisis level Calamity, and we'll get the Special Project. Calamity is the same buffs as what we just went over. Now to progress, we need to upgrade the Galactic Crucible core of doing that project. This will cost you 125,000 entropy. Upgrade. We get 200 naval capacity, and we get level 4. Where sublight speed of our Ember Cruiser and battleship go up by 30%, which is insane. Conduits will also automatically cross the border into enemy territory, making them aggressive instead of defensive, and lowered the construction time by 10. This is the crazy one. And meticulous and researchers per 100 jobs also give us +1 naval capacity, and we lower war exhaustion gain by 50%. So really gearing up for war here. To progress again, we just need to upgrade for the final time. 150,000 entropy. We go up to 250 naval capacity, and it's not over there. We get a next situation. But first, we do get the Ember Battleship, which can equip the Lens Paralyzer weapon. You can see what it does here. It's an energy type, meaning it does work with the neutronium armor from that Civic. Has 750 to 1,750 damage, 9% accuracy, and an average damage of 90. It has 50% shield penetration and 25% hull damage, but it will disable the target for 7 days, making it unable to move or fire back. The cooldown on this is 12.6 days, so almost roughly for half the cooldown it will be disabled if you're only firing one ship, obviously. It's an okay weapon. I wouldn't build stuff around it, but it could help, especially if you're against max level Crisis where they only have a few ships, but they're really strong. You could just build massive battleship fleets of these to just permanently stun them, which would be quite funny. You also get critical mass, where conduits will become stronger depending on the amount of captured systems. It needs to be 20% of the galaxy, and then conduits will deal devastation to nearby colonies. Affected colonies will slowly lose pops, and only affects empires of non-infernal species. It'll tell you how many systems are required, but that's not how many more you need. That's just how many total. So you do need to sit there and count them, which is a bit annoying. When I played the Crisis path, I didn't even bother with this because you'll see we just need to play defensively, but it could help if you're already big. It also does lower conduit construction time by 20, which again, they're going to start going attacking people, so it can help. You also get 25% more damage to your Ember ships, which is insane. Remember, we also get the 30% sublight speed from tier 4. Next up, you need to mobilize. You actually can't do anything here, so you just have to let the situation tick. What the situation did have was the 6 systems spawn in the center. You essentially need to construct on these with your construction ships and then hold these systems. It looks like it'll be easy. Where do all these wormholes go? From your Galactic Crucible system. However, that's not going to be the case, as when you reach stage 2, the Galactic Fire Alarm happens. Rival empires have forced hyperlanes to the center from each of the non-wormhole systems. So in that time, I highly recommend building up star bases and getting your fleets there. People haven't declared war on you yet, but once the situation fully finishes, they will. This even includes fallen empires, so you really need to build up to defend. If you've captured 6 systems, you're all good to go. If you're occupying 3 systems, you'll have no progress. And if you occupy less than 3 systems, the situation will tick down. Get all the way to the end and you win. You blow up the galaxy and everything's great. For you anyway. But first, let's see what happens if we do lose those systems. You can see we're in at 4 systems, we're still going up. We're down to 3, it's paused. Now we're down to 2, it's going down. If you reach 0, you actually don't lose, so there's always hope as long as you're alive. I didn't actually see going into these stages do anything for me when I was playing. I think it was just a bit of lore and story. Once you finish, the galaxy is yours. You'll get a new relic, which gives you research speed passively. When you activate it, 10 years you get energy, weapon damage, and fire rate, as well as 5% research speed to engineering. 10% of your physics research will also generate energy credits, And you unlock the life-seeding decision on colonizable worlds to create a new primitive civilization. This will essentially make a primitive on this planet, allowing you to basically become a fallen empire. But every single world also becomes volcanic, as you can see. So you've basically just created a galaxy in your image. Ignore the horde that didn't die to it. It's a great crisis path to actually prepare you for a 25 times crisis. Every planet is habitable, you can make primitives, you also get insane buffs to energy weapons, and it buffs up your economy by giving you more energy. Really fun crisis path, would recommend it. Now for all the extra cosmetic bits, there are 10 new portraits that they're all pretty sick. We've even got a tank band as previously mentioned. We have a new mechanical ship set in the Infernals. We have the Corvette, Frigate, Destroyer, Cruiser, Battleship, Titan, Construction Ship, Colony Ship that has a volcano inside it, by the way. Colony Ship's the absolute best. Look at it. Science Ship's pretty cool too. Citadel, the Colossus, Juggernaut, and the Habitat. Really nice ship set. We also have the Diplomatic Room, the Infernal City set, and also the Volcanic World comes with volcano-y background. We have an advisor.
Worlds will burn, and we will light the flame.
And something we haven't had in a while, more flag emblems. Look at them go. Very nice. I like flag emblems. They need to add more of them. I may have missed some other things. I believe there might be planetary events on Volcanic Worlds, but I'm not 100% sure. Let me know in the comments if I did miss anything. Make sure to subscribe with gameplay coming for everything you've seen here in the next few days. While you wait, you can actually watch them early, because for members just from $1, you can watch them early and it helps support the channel. If not, watch this video YouTube's recommending you, and I'll see you there. Goodbye.